Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast. Back with a third episode of the Brotherhood. Back with two of my brothers. Tony, how you doing?
I'm very good, thanks. Very well.
Yeah, nice to see you again. Mike, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. I'm not too bad. Good to see you, Mike.
Yeah, nice to see you too. So I thought we'd reflect on 2022. What a year for me personally. And kind of what in regards to mental health were we dealing with? What did we have to overcome? And kind of what we learned from it so we could take it into this new year and with new hope or new learnings that will help us if we are triggered in those particular ways again. Mike, what was 2022 like for you, reflecting on it, for you in regards to mental well-being?
Yeah, pretty crazy year, to be honest, Mike. It was my first. So basically, I started 2022 really well. I was 6 months clean from alcohol and cocaine. I'd started a new position within my company.
Cool.
I was healthy and fit. I was in a pretty good space. For the first few months, things were pretty good. Family, my general health, my well-being, work was good, relationships were good. And then I finally got surgery that I was been waiting for 4 years, which was a pleural sinus disease, it's called.
Oh, right.
In layman's terms, it's an ingrowing hair. And it's very common in men, I believe now. And it was an ingrowing hair right near my back passage, near my bum, right between my bum hole. Just near my bum hole, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had to massive surgery. I was out for 3 hours, big hole, and I had to get it packed 3 times a week for 3 months. So you can imagine where it was. It was painful. I was hardly sleeping. I'd lost my routine through work. I wasn't able to train. I was sat at home with my family, which you might think is beautiful, but within 2 weeks, mate, honestly, I wanted to murder people. My mental health was shot. Lost routine, lost my exercise, lost everything that I take for granted pretty much daily. And I was put me in a bit of a bad place, I'm not going to lie. I got through that. And then towards the end of the year, a good friend of mine died of cancer. He's 35 after 3 years of battling in November. I had the birth of my son in December, which was amazing.
Congrats.
A week before Christmas, my girlfriend's grandpa died.
Wow.
And then literally last week, my cousin died, 45, 3 kids with cancer again. So this year, and especially the last 6 weeks, has been the most testing time I've ever had, especially in my adult life, because for the first time in my adult life, I'm sober. Thank God I am. Because if this had have happened when I was in my active addiction, I don't know where I'd be now. Because that sort of stuff I can't handle or thought I couldn't handle. That was the sort of one of the main reasons I believe I become into dependent on drink and drugs so much. My inability to handle life on life terms, my addictive personality. So the learnings from this year has been unbelievable. Because of my growth through recovery and self-improvement, I've rided the storm with the help of people like yourselves, the community online of sober people, all my brothers and sisters around me who know me, and my family who are there supporting me, who I'm able to talk to and talk things through. Now, coming into this year fills me with hope, because I've got through stuff I never thought I'd be able to get through sober. And it's made me bigger and stronger. And although I'm still grieving, I know it's a process and I'm in no hurry. And the fact that I can come on a show like this and be able to talk about it without wanting to run away. I can be here for my family. And it's been very special, mate. It's been a crazy year, but thank God that I've experienced it, because the blessings that have come from it and that are going to carry on coming from it are going to be unbelievable. So yeah, crazy year, but at the same time, yeah, wow, what a year.
Yeah. What's your biggest learnings, do you reckon, from what you experienced? What do you think you've taken on that will help
My
you?
biggest learnings is believe in yourself mentally, because it's easy to give up when that voice is there. But I've again been pushed beyond boundaries that I thought I could never go to again mentally, especially sober.
Mm.
And I spoke to people and I listened to people and I dug through, and everything passes. It always passes. Tomorrow will always be a better day. Have faith, things will be better, because they will. You've just got to keep going. Know that the belief in yourself is a power greater than you'll ever believe. You just got to find it. Once you've got it, you'll get through anything. And that's my biggest learning this year, that I now know 3 deaths in 6 weeks, 2 surgeries. I haven't had a drink. I haven't had any cocaine. I've not needed or wanted.
That's
And I'm
amazing.
not going to lie to you, Mike. You know, within the last 6 weeks, I've been very dark,
Mm.
suicidal, not wanting to kill myself, but because I think I've had a lot of thought and experienced death in the last 6 weeks. It's brought around that sort of stuff. And I fantasized about the idea of not wanting to do it, but the idea of suicide. And it was in my head for a very long time. And it's disturbing, to be honest. But I got through it, because we're not our thoughts. And again, I talked it through, and I'm hearing and being honest. So yeah, I'm very grateful, mate. I am.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great you've come through it, Mike, and always appreciate your content you put out as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Mike.
Always positive and showing your journey, and that there's ups and downs, but you know, there's always light, no matter how small
Always
that light is in that dark tunnel. There's always some light, and just try and head towards or look towards that, and you can get through it, because it's not final. And I think that's the important thing. No matter what we go through, life throws up these challenges all the time for us, and you know what it is? It's all about kind of building up your toolkit in order to cope with what you're going through, and that's all we can do on that journey of life. Is because we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We don't have this figured out. We're like students of life, aren't we? We're always trying to learn, and always trying to gain from our experiences, so we don't keep on making the same. And that goes within the mental health journey. So you know, we're never going to have all the answers, but as long as we have something that's going to help us to guide us through these dark times. And that's what I work on a lot, is always trying to think of, yeah, I'm down right now, how can I lift myself, who can I talk to, what can I do, and that's the way to think, instead of wallowing in it. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy, so I'm not trying to say it's an easy thing. It comes with experience and time. But instead of wallowing or playing the victim, I want to have the answers and be the survivor and the person who begins to thrive. So I'm always looking for answers rather than being damning about what's happened in the space I'm in right now. And consumed by that. I'll try and always be like, right, I feel crap. What can I do about it? Well, what's going to pick me up? What's going to lift me? Who can I talk to? What can I do? So that's the mentality I'm trying to always be, is always trying to move forward, and a mindset of I can get out of this and it's never over. Type thing. Tony, talk to me. How was 2022?
2022, like Mike, was up and down. I became more aware of issues in the family, because you know, I had expectation of our youngest son, and I suppose he didn't meet the expectation I wanted to in terms of education. But then I thought, he's completely different from our eldest son, and we shouldn't expect the same. We should, you know, treat them as individuals. And I started to realize that I was not as engaged with my family as I ideally would like to have been. And so I'm getting more, I'm not so distant. Emotionally, I felt I was distant. And I suppose, like what Mike says, the dark times and the challenging times make you, I don't know, it switches a light on within you and makes you aware of who you are and what you are. And I suppose on the positive side, mentally and emotionally, I've become more aware. And so want to sort of, like you said, take more of a lead rather than just, take in what has been said. And so I've become more sort of proactive in wanting to promote mental and emotional awareness, and how that we need to be more. So I'm more honest with my emotions, more honest with where I am mentally, and it's just, I think the biggest learning curve I've found, which and Mike touched on it, is actually we've got to be so careful of the media and how the effect it will have on your mental and emotional health. And I realized that I've had to really be disciplined in terms of what I take in from the media, and what I now, on my way to work, I'll just listen to the headlines, and then I'll just switch it off or listen to music, because I just find that even when I've browsed social media, the effect it has on me mentally and emotionally is just, it can either have a negative effect or a positive effect, but 90%, 95% of the time it has a negative effect, because it's just, I don't know, it's just something that I just find really, I don't know, sinister. It's just, yeah. So so there's a mixture of things, and of 2022, and but my biggest learning curve, I suppose, was, engaging with my family more emotionally, mentally, and also the effect of media on one's mental and emotional health. Yeah.
Tony, if you had a word to sum up 2022, what would that be? Or words, maybe not one, if you need a few. In your experience.
In my experience, it's just, life is a journey, and you just got to really just take the ups and the downs, and it's also a process. And learn from the process, learn from the journey, and to make you a better person, a person that can help others in terms of their mental and emotional health. Because I think your mental and emotional health affects you physically as well. It just
definitely
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Mike, do you have a word that sums up 2022 for you?
I could name a few, to be honest.
Without swearing, of course. No, I'm
I know, yeah. 2 words, to be honest. Beautifully chaotic, I'm going to say, because
wow,
it was chaotic in many, many ways at the time, especially at the time. But looking back in hindsight, and what it's going to do for me going forward is a beautiful thing. So yeah, beautifully chaotic is 2022 for me.
Yeah. No, I hear that. It was a tough year for me. 2022 was I'll tell you what, it's probably one of the most ever that I've experienced in regards to my challenge in my mental health.
Really?
I lost my mom last year, so her passing away was and she was a glue to my family, so she kept us all together. I got a big family, 2 brothers, 2 sisters. What is it now? 3 nieces and 2 nephews. So I got a big family. She was the glue. She kept us together. So losing her was tough. And that time, since my dad died 7 years ago, and that was a different type of tough, because we had a strained relationship, because we didn't get on at all with my dad. With my mom was the opposite. We were really close. So it's a different type of grieving process, and what you're having to process and things. So losing her was very difficult, because she was sick for a very long time, most of last year, and then she ended up having a heart attack and passing away. So losing her was tough, a strain on the family, because then you've got different members of the family at different stages within the grieving process. So having to communicate and things like that has been very difficult. So, but my lessons I learned from last year was stay true to you. Yeah. Trust in what you're feeling. And as long as you're staying true to your authentic self, that's how you can, because within the grieving process, because you're at different stages where people are at and how they're coping and how they're communicating things, it may not be the best way. So it's important you don't take it on and say, oh yeah, well, everyone's against me. That you realize that's the stage they're in. And you need to be comfortable within your own self. So it was growing that, it was building up that resilience. And that's the word I use for 2022 for me, resilience.
Yeah, it's a great word, yeah.
And having that, building that, believing in myself, believing in my ways, my coping mechanisms, you know, without having to go to things like alcohol, drugs, or anything like that, finding my ways that are going to help me move forwards and move through it. Because that's the most important thing about grief, is actually feeling it and allowing yourself to feel the emotions, allowing yourself to cry when you need to cry, allowing yourself to be sad and alone when you need to be alone. And it's because we still need to function. There's bills to pay, there's life, you know, I'm married, I've worked with family. So it's, these things still need, they don't stop because of what happens. And that's the biggest thing, is always keeping that in the back of your mind. I still have to function, because if someone, an important person like your mother, they pass away, you'd think, oh yeah, that's it, kind of thing. But no, it's not, because life goes on, and then you think about them and what they would want as well. They wouldn't want your life to end because theirs did. They want you to be living a fruitful life, and it to be a happy life and a prosperous life. So that's what I always bear in mind when I go into the dark places and I'm feeling really down. I think of that, and I think, you know what? You know, it needs to be every thought I think of her and the happy times is how I honor her, and I make her happy about the choices I'm going to make going forwards. And I'm going to try and live the best life for me, and something she would be proud of as well. So that's what moves me forward when I'm really down. It's not easy. It's not easy, but that's my biggest learnings from last year, because that's such a big thing. It overrides everything else that went on, and there was other things that happened, but nothing to that scale, and nothing that had such an impact on me and my well-being as to that. So it was one of the most challenging years I've been through. But funny enough, losing my dad helped me with this, because then when you lose another parent, you're kind of like, what did I do the last time?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about life. It's really important to always reflect and say, I went through this, I handled it this way. Now I'm going through something similar. How do I handle it now? What were the learnings I can take from the last time I lost a parent? How can I, because I realized I wasn't coping well the first time. I was suppressing it all, and I put all my attentions into my work. So I was doing a lot of overtime. I was, you know, I didn't see people. It was just work. I was doing non-stop working. And it was good, because at the time, in regards to, I was really successful, so the company loved it. But what I was doing to myself, you know, I lost sight of me. I didn't even know who I was at the end of all of that working and whatever, because I'd not been processing anything.
Because we run away from the pain and the feelings and even the thoughts, you block them out, and all of a sudden, you're not even blocking them out yourself. It becomes second nature.
Yes.
You know, and you're on overdrive because you just don't want to see the pain.
And it's interesting because you always get told, yeah, be strong. Be strong. That's what you need to do to ride it. And I'm like, no. When people tell me that now, I just ignore it. It goes in one ear and out the next.
Yeah,
no.
same.
I need to be what I need to be.
Yeah.
And that could be weak. That can be, well, people say
Yes, correct.
that can be vulnerable. That can be sad.
Yeah.
That can feel down. I need to be what I need to be in order to move
get through.
And that's it. There is
Yeah,
no,
I hear that 100%, mate.
you know, I'm not trying to win an Oscar here and be the best actor and pretend that everything's fine and that I'm strong and I'm this, you know, alpha male. I don't feel, I've lose people along the way, but I don't process. I don't need to, because men don't do that. No, I'm gonna need to be vulnerable. I'm gonna need to cry. I'm gonna need to be alone. I'm gonna need to, you know, hug my wife for a long time. I'm gonna, you know, hug my niece and nephews, whatever it is. Speak to someone, speak to my therapist, speak to you guys. Whatever I need to do, I'm gonna do. And it's not about being strong. It's about being what's right.
Authentic to yourself and to your needs of whatever God's telling you, or your body's telling you, whatever it is. Because it's like, be strong. It's like, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
That's all I hear.
It's just society again. You're going against the grain.
And what is that supposed to mean? Be strong.
Yes.
You know, it's just, there's no substance behind it.
There's
nothing at all. It's just a saying that people have said and just bypass people who were struggling. And it's like, but you know what, Mike? You know, I just want to say sorry for your loss, because I never knew that. Yeah. And what an inspiration you are to hear you say that, because and how you've been through it, because just hearing you, the pressures of a man, I've heard you say. So the fact that although people pass, life still does go on.
Yes.
For a man, they're being the protector, the provider, the breadwinner, you know, there's responsibilities that, I'm not saying women, they've got their own, and you know, they're different to us in their own right. Do you know what I mean? I could not do some of the stuff my missus does. She's unbelievable as a mother. But the pressures that man have on top of what we're talking about anyway, having to carry on getting up and grinding every day when it's hard, when you don't even want to look at yourself in the mirror, but you've got to keep going. Unfortunately, you've got little mouths to feed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've got to put the act on at work that everything's okay. And it sucks the life out of me and the energy. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations and throw the importance of the mental resilience you were saying, because it's the more resilient, the better you are going to be able to navigate through them dark times. It's only through, like you say, the darkness and coming through it. And that's my experience, same with you. So yeah, pat yourself on the back, Mike, because you know what I mean? We don't do that, do we?
We don't.
We go through a lot and then we shrug it off once we've gone through it. And it's like, we've been through a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
We've survived.
Yeah, we
survived. You're a warrior, man.
And we've lived to tell the tale.
Yeah.
And like Tony was saying earlier, you know, hopefully we can help others through these conversations, because there's a lot of men suffering out there.
Yeah.
And women, but we're talking about men, because as I said, you know, men don't have the voice, but you know, we don't have enough voices out there or people they can relate to who are going through it and who are being authentic about their situation and real enough and transparent about their situations. So, you know, there's a lot of suffering out there, but we just need to talk, and just talking about it makes the difference. And that's what I found. Even the conversation with me and you, Tony, the other day, just to get a therapist and speak to a therapist.
Yeah.
Just speaking to someone, a specialist who can deal with it. Sometimes we need the next level of support. And that's what I had to open up to, especially when I lost my dad 7 years ago, was that I needed a specialist to talk to. And what was happening was I didn't want to, because everyone around me, like siblings or cousins, that be strong, you know, get through it. And that's all I heard at the time. And I remember not being as aware about, you know, mental health and things like that. So I was like, oh yeah, if they're doing it, that's the way. Let me be strong and let me suppress it and focus all my efforts into working. And that's when the panic attacks and that took over at that time. And I just remember, like, what the hell is going on? No one mentioned that to me. They just told me to be strong. They didn't tell me what happens if you're suppressing your emotions. Like there's consequences. There's effects of that. You know, so no one tells you about that part. They're just like, yeah, you'll be fine, man. Be strong, man. It happens. Move on, move forwards. Be a soldier. And like, no, I need help. You know, my relationship with my father was terrible. I needed help with him passing. There was a lot of blame. There was a lot of unresolved stuff between us two that never got said. So I was carrying that with me.
Yeah.
I was carrying that weight because we'd not had closure. We'd not had the conversations to close it off and bury the hatchet. So I had to do I had to do a lot of soul search and a lot of therapy, and look into the why the way he was, look into you know, his behaviors and the things he done. Why did he do them? What was his fears?
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah.
So I really opened my mind to that. And when I got to the why of the way he was, it gave me understanding.
Yeah.
So I could understand it and accept that this is what he believed was right. Yeah. Now it may not be the way I would have dealt with things or handled things, because I have the emotional intelligence. He didn't have that. We didn't talk about those things in his generation.
No,
you know, men were the protectors, the providers.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't know about you actually being in touch with how you feel and how to process them, and you know, think before you act and all this stuff. He doesn't know about any of that. So he did the best for what he could do at that time. He didn't know any different or better. And
that's acceptance, man. Yes. That's pure acceptance, man. I love that.
When I got to that, I could move forwards because I got it then. I was like, that's why. That's why it's the way he was.
Yeah.
That's why when I had these conversations with him, it just angered him. That's why he would get into arguments. The last conversation I had with him was an argument on, what was it, Christmas Eve, and he passed the day after. So I was carrying that with me, that we had an argument the last time I spoke to him ever. I was carrying that. So yeah. So it was all of that. And you know, what part did I play? So I love reflecting that way as well, guys, is looking at what part did I play, because it's so easy to blame others. Oh, it must have been them. That's why. You know, no, what part did I play in our relationship, and what could I have done better, and how can I improve so the relationship between me, my nephews, whoever it is, it never gets to that point where, you know, we blame or we have regrets about things we could have done better. So that's my learnings from that.
That's meant that, mate. We should always look at our part to play, because everyone's got a part to play in it. If we were there physically, then we've got some sort of part to play in it. Some of us, we just don't like to look at it, even now still. But I through recovery, that's one thing they try and hit home at your recovery, is always to try and make an amends when you know you've done something wrong, because them sort of things can keep me sick and I can carry them a long time and build a resentment up and stuff. So no, we all play a small part. And I think that's a good way to look at things.
Definitely.
I think we're going to have to talk again in terms of our relationships with our parents and our carers, that's, you know, because that is just...
It's a huge one.
Mike, you touched on a real biggie there, because like my relationship with my stepfather was just, and I'm still suffering now mentally and emotionally because of the I'm not at the stage where you are, where you have found out why he is the way he is, and because I'm still at the stage where I need to forgive, and I need to, you know, and you can't forgive and forget. You have to go through the process to forgive and forget, but I don't think you'll ever forget anyway.
No.
But I think, yeah, in terms of our relationship with our parents, you know, that is just a real big thing. But yeah, wow.
No, you're right, mate. Tony, I think it has a massive influence on everyone's life, whether you've come from two parents, a single parent, whether you had love with them two parents or no love with them two parents. You know, you can have had a love with a single parent, which is more than having no love with two parents. Do you know what I mean? It's a massive subject to speak
Yeah.
about, because you've got that, and then you've got your environment you grow up into, and then obviously the wrestle is, yeah, it's massive. It
And
really is.
it all has a knock-on effect to our relationships,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
romantic,
definitely.
friendships,
Yeah,
you name it. How we relate to people, our personalities.
yeah. How we end up parenting to a certain extent, if we've
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
sort of looked into it, you know, that generational curse they can call it. You know, say my dad beat me up, I beat my son up, his son beats his son. You know, that sort of stuff does happen, doesn't it? Because you are what you've been taught or what you've seen and grew up, unless you've had the nous or the pain to want to self-improve and stop that sort of stuff.
100%. Any last words, guys?
I'll carry on talking.
So,
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you very much again. And people, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll speak to you soon.